So I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about our story, about how we really did something traditional. We had a problem, and then we created an innovation to solve it. And then we then took that innovation, and then we look backwards to solve some of the problems. And so it was about 4.5 years ago that my brother Jackson and I actually were living together in Oakville. And it was about the time, it seems obvious now, but that they were starting to collect garbage every other week, but they were collecting compost every week, trying to force behaviors, make people think about where their waste was going. And if you've ever collected organic waste in your house, this is probably a familiar sight. It's kind of messy. Those compostable plastic bags seem to leak. They don't really do the job, and you're still cleaning your bin every time. And we just thought there must be a better way. We'd probably rather throw away that bin than have to clean it. And so this is really where our innovation came from. We wanted something that was completely compostable and disposable. And so we thought of a paper product. So we came up with a paper bucket, but there was a little bit more to it than that. So as mentioned, I have a background in chemistry. So we were able to develop an additive and a formulation that was based on some fatty acid chemistry that would repel water and interact with the cellulose so it wouldn't absorb all that water. Just like your skin doesn't absorb water, but you'll still compost at the end of the day. And so you fill it up with your organic waste, all the wet stuff, and then you can compost it pretty easily. And so Jackson and I were actually just students. We didn't have a lot of funding. And so we went to the funding mechanism of the time, which was Kickstarter. And we managed to find about 400 people that were willing to believe in the idea enough to give us some money ahead of time. We then went down the traditional Canadian route by appearing on Dragon's Den shortly after this and managed to get a little bit more money to start taking our prototype to the next level. And then all of a sudden we realized we'd taken a few little steps here, made some prototypes, and then we had to figure out what we were going to do with it. So we had to start thinking about how we're going to commercialize this. Jackson and I didn't have a lot of experience in this, but we had to start thinking about where are we going to manufacture this? This is an overseas product, or is it something we're going to do here in Canada? We ended up doing it in Canada, but there's also like all the warehousing, logistics, what are the good shipping companies when you're shipping this stuff across Canada, and how are we going to sell it? Everyone talks about selling online, but ours is a cheap, bulky product, and shipping that across Canada is really expensive, so we went to bricks and mortar retail. And you don't see a product like this in retail like this. You have to start thinking about packaging. So Jackson came in with this. We started going a little bit further. We realized you had to have a lid on top of this. So this is our namesake, Greenlid. And we had compostable paper seals that would actually protect your outside bin because you don't want to just move the mess from inside the house to outside the house. And then we ended up with the packaging you see here. There's definitely a lot of bumps along the way. The packaging didn't always look like that. There were some disasters with twine, and like you wouldn't believe what customers like you and I will do to products at a retail store. It's incredible. And so we've now expanded pretty widely across Canada. We're available in a lot of the major retailers, and we still keep getting store by store coming on there. We've sold into the US. Over 3 million of these have been used. So I think that puts our CO2 rating thing up to around 3 million or 3.5 million kilograms of CO2 equivalents. And then we started to think, well, we actually now have this material that we actually patented that's leak proof. And we started looking at replacing other plastics with paper. And this is where we started to partner with other companies or governments that had some ideas for this material. And one big one was biotraps. And so we worked with the Australian government who needed a biodegradable alternative to their plastic mosquito traps. And after 18 months, we developed a biodegradable alternative that we could sell for just $1, which opened up kind of a market and ability to sell to a lot of low and middle income countries to stop spreads of certain types of diseases. And in particular, we actually were deploying these down in the Rio Olympics during the Zika crisis. We're now putting into other applications. We've got sifting kitty litter trays coming out, a lot of animal feed trays, and we're replacing a lot of everyday items with paper-based material that would otherwise be plastic. And so with that, I just want to make sure that I thank Jackson, who's in the room here, started this with me. I have the science background, so often I get the credit for a lot of this, but we've been working on this together for several years. And Otto Cowie, who came onto the team, is like another brother with us now, who has been instrumental in getting our global expansion of biotraps and other things across the globe and started making us think not just inside Canada, but outside Canada. So thank you.